New York congressional districts are redrawn after a court order. The maps drawn up by a bipartisan commission will now go to the state legislature for approval. And as 7 News reporter Chad Charette tells us, there are minor changes proposed for North Country districts.
There was like 3 districts. There's really significant adjustments, but other than that, there's it's pretty vanilla right now.
Pretty vanilla. That's how State Assemblyman Scott Gray describes these proposed changes to New York's congressional district lines. Taking a look at the North Country, the changes would be minor. The most noticeable can be seen here. Congresswoman Claudia Tenney's 24th district would go all the way up to the Jefferson-St. Lawrence County line. That includes Alexandria Bay and the town of Alexandria, areas which are currently covered by Congresswoman Elise Stefanik's 21st district.
The Blind Bay issue is wholly contained within her district now.
Customs and Border Protection's controversial plan to build a facility in Blind Bay has been opposed by officials across the political spectrum, including Tenney. Although Stefanik would no longer represent the area, Gray believes she would still have sway on what happens there.
Congresswoman Stefanik will be involved, as always. She still represents, a portion of Jefferson County, 4 towns, one being Fort Drum. So, so she still has, obviously a say without a doubt.
Now that the lines are drawn, it's up to the legislature to approve them. It may seem simple, but Gray tells us these maps have a history of being shot down.
I believe more times than not, they have not been approved. So that it stands the potential. And we didn't, honestly, there was some talk that we wouldn't see them this early.
Voting on the maps is slated for Monday the 26th. If approved by the state legislature, they'll go into effect immediately. Chad Charette, 7 News.